It's Friday. That means it's time for another Quick Queries brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I'm your instructor, Richard Rost. Quick Queries are quick questions that may or may not pertain to queries, but they're going to help you with your Microsoft Access database. So let's see what we got today. First up's a post from this morning in my forums on my website. Robert would like to know if it's possible to put a hyperlink in an email that would open an Access database to a specific record. He's using Access as a drawing approval system, and he wants to be able to send out emails to people so that they remember to go to the database to approve the drawings. Now, as I'll mention in a minute, this brings up the question of, is it possible to do it, or is it worthwhile to do it, and do you really want to do it? So Kevin, I love Kevin, he came up with a whole solution here where you can create a hyperlink and use it to launch an application via a batch file. And Alex has some other ideas here. And here's my solution. Reminder, go approve your drawings, go do it. So to me, this falls under one of the things where it's like, could you send someone an email with a link that could open up the database to a specific, yeah, you could. Or just make it so that you send them an email, anyhow, like a monthly reminder or a weekly reminder or whatever, and then have them open the database. And if the database has user logons and it knows it's them, it can say, hey, you've got this many pictures that need to be updated or approved or whatever. Right? You have the database set up with multiple users. All you have to do is open the database using whatever shortcut that they have on their desktop, and then the database can say, yo, go approve your drawings. Right? Is it possible? Yeah, it does open up some security risks to have batch files running out of emails. Not a big fan of that. You could set up SQL Server and give them a web portal, right? Take your Access data, put it up in SQL Server, give them a simple web portal that they can just go to, and they can just approve the drawings there. That will require a lot more work, but it's certainly a possibility. I would rather do that than sending people emails with hyperlinks that can open up your Access database. But in a nutshell, simply, I've got several videos that show how to do reminder pop-ups and have reminders pop up on a certain date. You could, with very little modification, change that. So, when your event runs, and how the event runs is up to you. You can have it queued as to when, and when anyone opens the database after a particular date, have it check these things. Or if you have what I call a server Access database sitting in the corner, just running on a loop, that's what I've got. It can check, for these reminders and then fire off those emails. How do you fire off those emails? Well, there's lots of ways. You got a regular send email with Outlook. If you're still using classic Outlook, there's send email with CDO. You're going to need a record set to loop through it. You'll definitely need some VBA. I cover some of this stuff in my email seminar, like record set loops. We build an email server. So there's lots and lots of ways to do it, Robert. It's just a matter of how much effort do you want to put into doing it. Right? If a simple email, notification once a week won't do it, you can automate all of this. It's just, again, how much work is necessary. I got a whole gigantic list of things that I want to automate, both on my website and in my company Access database that I use. But there's only so many hours in the day, so I'm a very much, squeaky wheel gets the grease person. So when something starts to pain me, There's two times I work on something. A, if I think it'll bring in a lot of sales, right? Like a new seminar or a new video or something. Or B, when I get sick of doing something. Or if it's just irritating me. So that's when I'll spend time on it, usually. Or if the wife bugs me to do it. Of course, that's not work related, but that's something different. Like just this morning, a little while ago, I fixed a bug on my website. We have this notifications page. You can see all the notifications, like, people reply to comments you leave or someone mentions you. And I just released the mentioning thing to everybody on the website instead of just the admins and the moderators. And now more people are using it. And it was an annoying bug where if you clicked on it in the notifications, it didn't go away. You had to delete it manually. So squeaky wheel gets the grease. Next up in my Access Developer Forum, which is a little more advanced forum on my website, Monica brings up an issue that she's having compile errors, user-defined type not defined. And after some digging, she realized when she declared a record set source, the type record set isn't in the IntelliSense drop-down menu. And we did some digging back and forth and throwing around the idea. And it's possible, because she mentioned it's an older database. All right, she had the database she began in the 90s. So there's two different ways to work with record sets in Access. There's DAO, which is the default, right, data access objects. And then there's ActiveX data objects, which is a different type of technology. And Access started off with DAO, and then sometime, I don't remember exactly when, I think around 2007 or 10, don't quote me, but in the middle there somewhere, they switched it to ADO to try to be more compatible, because ADO is what a lot of like web services use, or if you want to talk to SQL Server, you can use ADO. It's just basically, it's two different ways of talking to databases, right? And then they realized that, well, no, let's go back to DAO. So they switched the default back to this. Now, you could always use one or the other if you declared it right. So, for example, in your code here, you could have, oops, I'm going to resize this. You could have, dim rs as a DAO dot record set, right? And rs2 as an ADO. See, I don't have ADO installed. Now, in order to use ADO in the newer versions, all right, you'd have to go up to Tools and then References. And see, the Microsoft Access 16.0 object library gives you what you need to work with Access, basically, gives you DAO. But you'd have to scroll down and find this guy, Microsoft ActiveX Data Object 6. All right, now once you add that as a reference to your database, now rs2 as ADO, ADODB, I believe you got to use, dot record set. And so, yeah, it's a pain. Basically, I've got separate lessons on this because you almost never need to use it. In fact, yeah, the only time we ever use it is in my SQL seminar, connecting directly to an SQL server table. Okay? And the only time that you need to specify DAO.recordSet is if you have the reference for ADO in here. So if you don't have that reference, which you don't need unless you specifically want it, then you can just call this record set, which is what I do in all of my stuff because I only use DAO unless I'm working with SQL Server and I'm very specific about it. I know I asked ChatGPT for some code sometimes or different AI, and it'll give me DAO.recordSet. And I can always tell when someone posts something in my forums or sends me an email with a question and it says DAO. Whatever. I know they either A, got that code from GPT, or B, they just found it online in some Google thing somewhere because they didn't get it from one of my classes because they'll never see me declare it that way. So that's what that was. So yes, Monica, your database could have old references in it, right? Get rid of the old ones. And yeah, Kevin pointed it out right here. So. Oh, and like I said here, you can make sure that you have a reference to DAO higher in priority than ADO because you can move those things up and down in priority. Got a correction from something that I mentioned in Quick Queries 40. I talked about the SQL lines in query design. And I said that the only way to really get more conditions like that was to go into SQL and to add more that way. And Jerry pointed out that there's an insert rows feature, which I completely forgot about. That's one of those things where I learned Access way back in the early 90s. I don't think Access 2.0 had that. So in order to add more conditions, you had to go into SQL. What we're talking about is, all right, down here, right, these criteria rows. You get 9 of them. All right, get rid of that. And I always design queries with the ribbon collapse too. But on the query design ribbon, look at that. There's insert rows. You can add more. See, watch. If you do, I just hit insert rows. See, it adds more. And there's lots of them now. And I totally forgot about that. See, even me, if I don't use features, you forget about it. Right? And if you close this and come back in and you don't use those rows, they'll collapse back to 9. So use them. But to be honest, you really shouldn't need that many. Very few queries that I've written, I've needed more than 9 rows of OR conditions. Once in a while it happens. When you get that complicated, you might want to start thinking about creating your SQL dynamically so that you don't run into that. But, yep. See, even I forget stuff. There's so much in here. If you don't use it, you lose it. So, again, thanks, Jerry, for the tip. And I haven't checked on YouTube yet, but I'm sure at least 5 of you have mentioned this. So yeah, I'm not perfect. And I really do appreciate you guys keeping me on my toes. I forget stuff all the time, too. You guys sometimes remind me of the simplest things that either, there are new features that the Microsoft team has snuck in that I didn't even ever know was there because I'm so used to doing something my way, a way that I learned in 1997. Or like the whole Arrange tab, when that came out, I was like blown away. I didn't know half the stuff that was on that. Or it's just something that I just forgot. Next up is one from Lars, one of my Platinum members. He said he was going to have ChatGPT proofread his code, and it started making changes that he didn't want. For example, it changed date start to me.datestart. And I got this whole video here on bang versus dot, and when you want to use it, when you don't want to use it, when you don't need me, right? You don't always need me. You only really need me if you're referencing properties of the form or report, right? Me.caption, me.width, that kind of stuff. Right? You don't need it for all the fields. He just wants to know if this happens to me with ChatGPT. Yeah, basically. So I had it look at the transcript. I fed the transcript of this video into GPT and had it summarize it for me. Right? Dot operator, bang operator, right? Right. The reason why it works sometimes is because Access auto promotes control names to properties at runtime for convenience, which I believe I mentioned in that video. But it's not always right. It doesn't always work. All right, especially if the field name is reserved word. And you got to remember to put brackets around it. It's just a pain. So that's why I recommend using the bang method. All right, me bang first name. You can watch this whole video for more details on it, bang versus dot. But I said, so am I correct? And yes, I am. Of course I'm correct. But see, sometimes GPT will tell you what you want to hear. So you got to be careful. Okay? Even if it says I'm correct, you still want to verify it with a third source. But basically, what you should do is anything that you have that you want GPT to do if you're working with it for coding is specify stuff, right? Specify, how you want it to be, how you want it to act, best practices, that kind of stuff. For example, one thing that I don't like is that whenever I have GPT write code for me, it always puts each variable on its own line when it dims statement. So I have to tell it in my instructions, don't do that, right? Put at least 3 or 4 on a line. It just makes the code shorter and easier to read. And every time. And, I've got issues too. Like I use GPT a lot for proofreading. Or like I do my captain's log every morning, right? My captain's log is basically my blog on the website. It's got all kinds of stuff. Like right now I'm doing a series on logical fallacies, right? Which you'll run into a lot if you're a consultant or a developer. That's not just for everyday life. I try to give an example of each. But anyways, so I'll use GPT to do my proofreading for me. Like I'll just get my thoughts out. I'll be like, okay, today's captain's log is about, and I'll just dictate. Right, and between my voice recognition software and GPT, it'll clean it up for me. It'll, punctuation, spelling, grammar. Sometimes I'll have it correct the word flow a little bit if what I'm saying doesn't sound right. But it does certain things that I can't stand. It uses M dashes everywhere. These things, I hate M dashes. I don't like the way they look. And I put it in my system instructions. I've told it a million times. Don't use M dashes. Don't use semicolons because in proper writing, they're handy, but no one really writes like that, and especially in informal writing in a blog or an email. Who uses semicolons? I do once in a while. Actually, GPT is kind of making me use semicolons more than I normally would. But things like that. I don't like curly quotes, right? Those smart quotes you get from Microsoft Word. It throws those in all the time, or the curly apostrophe. I just want straight, low ASCII characters, and it doesn't listen to me. I have to repeat myself a million times. So yeah, you got to be specific. You got to give it good instructions, and sometimes you got to repeat yourself. That's just the nature of AI. It's gonna get better eventually, but it's still not there yet as far as following instructions. Going back to something we talked about in Quick Queries 39, Ronald says he would have thought that there's an option to compact and repair on close. Wouldn't that not compact repair every time the user closes the database or not? I'm not a big fan of compact on close. And if you're in a situation where you have a split database, which most multi-user databases are, well, all of them should be, and most are, it's not going to compact your back-end database, only the front end. And usually there's no data in the front end that you have to compact. And if so, it's usually just temporary data. Because if you update the front ends for everybody, that gets replaced. Okay? So your best bet is to, I would suggest, once a week or so, which is usually enough for most access databases, unless you got tons of traffic. Once a week or so, when everybody's out of the database, just compact it manually, or you can run an event at like Sunday at 3 a.m. to, again, make sure everyone's out of the database. And I got a compactor tool that I have here you can get, right? The Access Compactor template, and it'll do it for you. You just run it on your main machine, and it'll, when you program it, tell it when you want it to go, and it'll just compact all the databases it finds in your backend folder. So there you go. I'll put a link to this down below. Merchandising. Let's head over to the YouTubes now. Let's see. We got Combat Dummy 69 wants to know if I'm sure about my Are You Sure of It? No, I'm not. Absolutely. Shadow Dragon is guilty of doing the same thing that I've been doing for years, is copy paste. Yeah. You write something, even if it's only 5 or 6 lines, that's a lot of code if you're copying it in 15, 20 different places in your database. So that's why I like to make these little helper functions. Next up, a comment from Peter. Peter, I see stuff like this all the time, and so I'm not picking on you, but a lot of people say stuff like this. Like you don't understand a particular concept that I'm covering in this video, and you say, where I normally explain things very elaborate, you rush through these things. I don't understand at all what the difference is between the data between the parentheses. Okay, so if you watch any of my videos, at the beginning, what do I always say? There's some prerequisites. Well, if there are prerequisites, right? And at the beginning of this video, I'm 100% sure I say there are 4 prerequisites. And I always give links to them in the description. There's intro to VBA. There's the message box, if then, and then create function. Now, if you've watched all these prerequisite videos, in the create your own function video, which is one of the prerequisites, I take a lot of time at about the 4-minute markish or so, talking about what these things are. These are parameters. You use them to send information, send data into a sub or a function. So if you're going to watch my tech help videos and I say there's a prerequisite, pause the video, go watch all of the prerequisites so you understand everything, because I'm not going to take the time in every video to explain everything over again. That'd be like going to college and then enrolling in, medical level 400 without taking levels 100 through 300. And then you're in a lab and the professor's like, okay, do this. And you have no idea what he's talking about because you don't have all the prerequisites. It's the same thing here. Now, in my full courses, if you sign up for my full course and take them in order, right? Beginner lessons, right? Beginner 1, beginner 2, beginner 3, beginner 4. If you take those in order, I don't assume that you don't know anything that I didn't cover in the previous lessons. All right. So that's the benefit of taking my full course. It's all arranged in the right order. But my tech help videos are to address specific questions and answers, specific problems. And I have to sometimes assume that you have a certain level of understanding. Otherwise, every video would be 3 hours long if I had to explain everything in every single video. That's why there's prerequisites. So everybody, next time I say there's a prerequisite, go watch the prerequisites. I'm going to make a video to point people to that says, did you watch the prerequisite? And again, Peter, I'm not picking on you. I get this from a lot of people all the time. Why did you rush through this? I don't understand it. Well, it's covered in the prerequisite. And shout out to Fuego. He took the time to actually explain it. So thank you very much for explaining that. And that's the one thing I love about how helpful people usually are here on YouTube and on my forums especially. I got a great group of moderators. They love answering questions. And I love the fact that you guys help each other out. That's amazing. So thank you, Fuego, for answering Peter's question. No, it's not really a question. It's a statement. Let's see. Bring forward. Statement. Yeah. So there you go. Thanks. Easy Speak says, really impressive, quite hard to remember, but thanks for teaching. Yeah, this is on one of the more elaborate videos. It doesn't really matter which one. And yeah, see, that's the thing is if you don't do this stuff all the time, you're not going to remember it. So just bookmark the video or, a link to my website or whatever. It's because you're not going to remember it if you don't use it every day. Even some of the stuff I show you guys in these videos, I have to take a few minutes ahead of time to figure it out. So, You might not remember it all the time, but at least remember that you saw it somewhere, because then you can go figure out where, right? Got 3 questions here from Unique Collection Shop. All right, let's see. I want to save my form, invoice, or report as a JPEG image on my laptop. I can save it as a PDF, but not as a JPEG. I don't know of any natural way in Access to save directly as a JPEG file or any kind of an image file. You'd need some kind of a third-party converter to handle that. Now, I haven't looked up this in a while. It's been a couple of years. I don't like not knowing something, so let's go do a little bit of research. All right, so I asked ChatGPT, and yeah, I'm correct. Access cannot natively do that. What it recommends you can do is with a PDF to JPEG external tool. I did something like this similarly years and years ago with a tool. I don't remember which one, though. A client had a similar request. Like you need a bitmap to convert into a PCX to be able to send it as a fax. It was weird. Image Magic, Ghost Script with a wrapper like InFranView, or a commercial PDF converter like Adobe Acrobat. You can do the output as a PDF, and then the next line of code can just convert it. Or you can use Windows API to take a screenshot of the report preview. I wouldn't recommend that. You're not going to get very good accuracy out of that one, very good resolution. Or use a virtual printer that supports image output. All right, PDF Creator, Primo PDF. And again, I haven't used any of these. So is it possible? Yes. Can they do it natively in Access without any kind of external tools? Nope, not that I'm aware of. And not that GPT is aware of either. Question 2, I've developed a software application in Access. I want to hide all the indicators it was created in Access so that my clients don't realize it's an Access-based application. Why? Why would you want to do that? You should let everyone know you're using Access. We want to make Access popular. No, I'm just kidding. I get asked this a lot. I actually have a whole video on this. It's a 2-part series, and I got some other things too, like creating screenshots or screen splashes. What do you call those? Splash screens. That was definitely an S word. I couldn't think of it. It was sitting on the tip of my tongue there. That'll hide the little Access logo that pops up. You can set your own icon and the database title. So there's stuff you can do to try to hide Access, but someone who really knows Access will not be fooled. This will fool your average Office user, right? And you can hide most of Access, but not all of it. You know, there's ways that you can figure out that it's an Access application. I mean, just look in the task manager, you're going to see msaccess.exe running. There's no way around that. But can you fool the average person? Sure. So go check this video out. Last question, you want to disable Alt F4. So Alt F4, for those of you who don't know, closes any Windows application. Now, Alt F4 itself is handled at the Windows level. So unless you want to use some Windows API hacks, which I usually don't recommend, to intercept the system call on a Windows level, then no, you can't do that straight with an Access. What you can do is you can intercept them trying to close your main menu form. I do talk about that in this video. You can intercept them, you can pop up a condition or a message box that says, oh, are you sure you want to close this form? And you can stop them from doing that. And in the extended cut, I even show how to prevent it from being closed with the shortcut key. Right? You can prevent users from closing the application without specific conditions being met. So there's things you can do. Again, is there a bulletproof way to prevent it? No. But there's a lot of tricks you can play to try to keep them from closing it. I even wrote an application for a customer years ago that he didn't want people exiting the database because they use it as a time clock. And so I wrote a hidden program that would run as a service in the background that most users didn't know existed. And if the user closed Access for any reason or knew how to go and end task, the service would restart it again. It would check to see if the database was running, and if not, it would load it back up again. So there's all kinds of tricks you can play. Is this stuff built into Access? No. You have to learn how to do it yourself. But 3 very good questions, and thank you for asking them, Unique. I'm just saying, went to buy Microsoft Access Home, or Microsoft Office Home 2024, but Access is not included. Do I know why? Yeah, because it's not included. The only way you can get Access now is either as part of a 365 subscription, the business one, or buying it on its own. In fact, Access was never included in the home editions of Microsoft Office. The home or the personal editions always had Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, but you had to get the business or the professional editions to get access. I talk about this in my 2025 edition of How to Buy Access. No, there is no Access 2025. This is the 2025 edition of this video because I have to do it every year because Microsoft keeps changing things. I wish they'd be more consistent with their marketing and their packaging, but they change it every couple of years, and they confuse even professionals like me who work with this stuff every day. So your options now are to either get a Microsoft 365 subscription. I recommend the 365 apps for business. It's $8.25 a month, and it includes access and all the other normal stuff, Word, Excel, all that, right? Or if you want access and you don't want to pay for a subscription, you have to get Access 2024 by itself. All right, here it is right now. That's your only perpetual license option, and no longer comes with Office. So yeah, don't complain to me. That's what Microsoft decided to do. Next up, Dima says, would it still be possible if I want to make the first combo box for street and the second one for country? All right, well, this is about my multiple cascading video. And in this video, I go country, state, county, city, street in that order because I'm going from bigger to smaller geographically because you pick the country, and then inside the country, you get multiple states, and then inside the states, you get multiple counties. Now, I've seen it online where you start typing in the address, like 231, 456, whatever, and it will start showing you street addresses because it's got a giant database, probably from the post office, of all of the addresses. And then you can go that way. That's not really a cascading combo box. That's more of a lookup from a giant address database, and it's doing a lot behind the scenes. Is that possible to build an access? Sure. If you've got a post office database with all that data in it, or better yet, you're probably better off using an API, connecting, in the background and querying their database, unless you want to have all that, gigabytes and gigabytes of data on your local machine. I know it's available. That's not how I would go about it, but if that's how you want to do it, sure. Again, my job is just to show you the Legos. You put them together in whatever pieces you want. But searching through a database, starting with street, you might have 5,000 main streets in there, right? And so to pick street first isn't really going to help you narrow the rest of those down. It might show you some countries that don't have a main street, but you know what I'm saying? So I think what you're really looking for is a post office reverse lookup where you type in the address and it tells you who it is. So is that out there? Is it possible? Yeah, sure. I haven't done a video on it, but maybe one of these days, if enough of you are interested, post a comment down below and I'll look into it. Always want to give a shout out to anybody who sends me a super thanks on YouTube. Thank you, Paul. Super thanks. You can click on it and you can send me a tip and I can go buy a coffee. Well, can't even really buy a coffee with that anymore, but I certainly appreciate every dollar helps. Thank you very much. George asks a very common question. His auto number has jumped from 6 to 10. How did that happen? George, don't worry about it. 7, 8, and 9, they weren't happy. Oh, how's that one go? Why is 6 afraid of 7? Because 7, 8, 9. Those records are not for you. Don't worry about those numbers. In fact, I got a whole video about it. These IDs here, they're not for you. Shouldn't matter if you're missing IDs. Right? They could look like this. Doesn't matter. This is for access internally to keep track of relationships and make sure your records are unique. That's it. If you want counters, I got lots of other videos on how to make different sequential counters, record numbering, all that stuff. But auto numbers are not for you. Don't worry about it. What probably happened, if you didn't delete 7, 8, and 9, you might have started entering a record at 7 and then hit cancel or escape. As soon as you start creating a record, that auto number is spent. You create another record after that, that would have been 8. If you delete it or hit escape, that's 8's gone. Okay? Can you get them back? Yes, but there's tricks you can play, but I'm not going to explain it to you right now. I got videos on that too. How to restore a deleted auto number. It's on that page I gave you. But don't worry about it. This is about my type mismatch video, and for this one I have to put on my stand-up comic voice. Hey, my wife and I got married. We got a type mismatch error. We tried to ignore it, and 20 years ago, we're still doing fine. That's pretty fun. I did get a good chuckle when I read this one. Wolf Rider's got a comment about my age video where I teach you how to calculate someone's age. He said, what if you need to output the age in days, weeks, and months as well? Building a database for a dog shelter. Well, thank you for taking care of the puppies. I appreciate that. Want to be able to specify 4 weeks versus 10 weeks or 5 weeks versus 4 months. For that, there's a lot of different ways you could do it. You could make a query for sure. You can convert it. If you know their birth date, you can very easily show the number of weeks, right? Because if you subtract today's date from their birth date, or the other way around, subtract their birth date, because that's the smaller value, right? Subtract that from today's date, that'll give you the number of days they've been alive, right? Then to get weeks, you just divide by 7, right? To get months, that's a little more difficult if you're, if you're only dealing with close enough months, you could just divide by 30. And that'll give you a close enough figure if you just care about whether a dog is 8 months or 9 months. If it doesn't have to be, for legal purposes, you want it to the day. But if you just care about roughly, see what I did there? Roughly. I'm just full of them today. Actually, I can't take credit for the last one. That was the commenter. But yeah, if you could do divided by 7, divided by 30 for months, or you could use the date diff function. Right? Date diff will give you the exact number of months that they're different, that kind of thing. So either way, go watch this video too on date math. It explains more about how date and time values work inside of Microsoft Access. Once you understand this, all the rest of the functions make much more sense. This one is from VTOM, and it's about my recycle bin video. And I run into stuff like this occasionally, and I just want to explain why I do what I do. Now, VTOM has said he's never had a problem with what I put in the extended cuts. It's my work. But this is the only one I'm a little annoyed at, how to get data from the recycle bin. It's like Windows making it easy to put stuff in the recycle bin, but not telling or hiding the restore part. Unfortunately, I can't afford a membership right now. I've learned a lot here, but this one disappointed me. And I understand. I understand why you're frustrated and disappointed. For those of you who haven't watched this video, what I teach you how to do is, instead of deleting records, we make a recycle bin button. And this button, you could drop it on any form, and it will put the data in a recycle bin table for you so that you have it in case in the future you realized, oh crap, I deleted it, I need to get it. So over the course of 3 videos, right, we build this guy here. You sure you want to recycle it? Yep. And it goes into this recycle bin table. Okay? And the data is in here in case you need it. There it is. I'm not hiding it. Right? You can come in here. It's not like with Windows. With Windows, if Microsoft hid the recycle bin and didn't let you retrieve files out of it, you can't easily recreate an image file or an Excel file. Okay? But this is all just text. You can come in here, copy this to Notepad, and then just copy and paste each of these fields back into your table, and there you go. You got your data back. So the point of this was to show you how to save this information for later. Now, yes, in part 3, in the extended cut, we build a restore option to make it easier so that you can restore the record with one click. Okay? And yes, this is a lot of extra work, and it's a way for me to add value to my members who are paying for memberships, which allows me to keep the lights on, and it's the reason why I have time to make these free videos in the first place. It's not like I left you with half a solution, right? Your data is in the recycle bin. It's safe there. You can go and get it out if you want to and restore that record manually, right? It's completely different from files in the Windows recycle bin. If Microsoft didn't give you a restore, there's no way that you can easily recreate that image, okay? And I get that you can't afford a membership. I know times are tough for a lot of people right now. I'm having a lot of people cancel because of the way the current economy is, and it sucks. I know, it affects me too, right? But the extended cuts are extra solutions that I provide for the members to go above and beyond what I cover in the free videos. And the free videos all have value in themselves. I wouldn't make a video, a tech help video at all, if it didn't at least answer the question. Sometimes in the free video, I show a simple way of doing something, and then I show a little more advanced or elaborate way of doing it in the extended cut, or an add-on to what I was talking about. And that's just the nature of my business. That's how I can afford to do this, right? Believe me, I wish I made enough money on just running YouTube ads, but no, it's nowhere near enough. So I have to sell memberships. I have to sell lessons. And if I didn't do that, then you'd have zero videos from me. So I'm sorry you're disappointed, but the recycle bin videos give you a solution. Your data is safe. It's in the recycle bin. It just might take you a few more minutes to restore that record than if you had a restore button. But I certainly appreciate you sharing your thoughts with me, and keep watching. Next up is a question about my pop-up over the control video. This guy, where I show you if you click on this field up here, this box will open up over that one. If you click on something down here, which is what I think I did, it opens up down here, right? This opens up over the control that you clicked on. And Angel is trying to do it with a data sheet view. Now, I'll be honest, I almost never use data sheet views. I don't like them. I like to be able to, I design continuous forms if I want to use something like that. Data sheets got some benefits, but it does have its limitations, and you just saw one. Yeah. Access has no easy way of telling which version of the last name field or the first name field or whatever you are on, because there's a whole bunch of them. Now, in the extended cut for part 2, I do show you how to use a subform. And the subform is basically a continuous form, which looks like a data sheet. All right, here's the extended cut. You can see back here. Here, let me load it up. All right, here's the extended cut database. Go to orders, and notice if I click up here, it opens up there. If I click down here, it opens up lower. All right, so I guess we're going to find out together if this will work, if this is a data sheet. Let's try it. Let's go in here, and let's change this. So its default view is data sheet. All right, save it, close it, open it, and click. Okay, and click, and it opened up lower. There it goes. So yes, the technique that I show in the extended cut will work with a data sheet, but I don't like data sheets. I never have. Because you can't really control much about them. The only time I ever use a data sheet is if I'm trying to mimic Excel. Because sometimes people want something in Excel. You can freeze columns and do some things you can't do with a continuous form. I just like the way this looks better. That's just me. So yes, will it work with a data sheet? Yes, the stuff I show in the extended cut will. There you go. Another reason to join. And we're going to end tonight with Jim saying this is a good, clear, and to the point video. I'm surprised it hasn't gotten more likes in 3 years. Nice job. Yeah, me too. I don't get enough likes. Don't know why. People don't like me. No, I get enough likes. I think I'm the same way, though, when I watch YouTube videos. There's a lot of channels I subscribe to that I don't like every video I watch. I know their algorithm likes engagement and all that stuff, but as long as you subscribe to the channel, I'm happy if I don't get the likes. That's okay. But yeah, start smashing that like button, people. Let's see. In 3 years, I published it 3 years ago in April of 2022. It's got 134 likes. That's kind of low. It's got 12,593 views, which the views is right about what I would normally get for videos in that time. And the watch time is 535 hours, which is a little bit lower than most of my videos get. But I have gotten 14 subscribers from this specific video. So that's not paid subscribers. That's not paid members. That's subscribers. So it's a good little video. I can't complain. Well, I didn't realize we're approaching 40 minutes on this video. I try to keep them about 15, 20 minutes. So I know I rambled a lot today, but there you go. But that's going to do it, folks. That is your quick queries video for today. What is today? Friday, the 23rd of May, 2025. Hope you learned something. Live long and prosper, my friends. Enjoy your weekend. Monday is a holiday here in the United States, so it's Memorial Day. So I'll either do a Memorial Day video or not, or there won't be a video Monday. And I don't do that because it's a holiday and I'm taking the day off and all that. I do that mostly because of you guys. I've noticed on holidays, especially our holidays, the views go way, way, way down. So it's like, why should I release a video if no one's going to watch it that day? So I'll save it for the next day, which is Tuesday. But that's it. I'll see you next time. See you next week, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button right now and give me a like. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel, which is completely free. And make sure you click that bell icon and select all to receive notifications whenever I post a new video. Do you need help with your Microsoft Access project? Whether you need a tutor, a consultant, or a developer to build something for you, check out my Access Developer Network. It's a directory I put together personally of Access experts who can help with your project. Visit my website to learn more. Any links or other resources that I mentioned in the video can be found in the description text below the video. Just click on that Show More link right there. YouTube's pretty good about hiding that, but it's there. Just look for it. Now, if you have not yet tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access, including building forms, queries, reports, tables, all that stuff. It's over 4 hours long. You can find it on my website or my YouTube channel. I'll include a link below you can click on. And did I mention it's completely free? And if you like Level 1, Level 2 is just $1. That's it. And it's free for members of my YouTube channel at any level. Speaking of memberships, if you're interested in joining my channel, you get all kinds of awesome perks. Silver members get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos, and there's hundreds of them by now. They also get one free beginner class each month, and yes, those are from my full courses. Gold members get the previous perks plus access to download all of the sample databases that I build in my tech help videos. Plus, you get access to my code vault where I keep tons of different functions and all kinds of source code that I use. And gold members get one free expert class every month after completing the beginner series. Platinum members get all of the previous perks, plus they get all of my beginner courses, all of them from every subject. And you get one free advanced or developer class every month after finishing the expert series. And you can become a diamond sponsor and have your name listed on the sponsor page on my website. So that's it. Once again, my name is Richard Rost. Thank you for watching this video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something today. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you next time.